Merhaba, and welcome back again to the Ottoman campaign in Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. And we have another war going. It's against Germany, and by extension their allies, the United States. We almost had a war going with the British a couple months ago, but they paid their way out of it, so that didn't happen. We did I guess it's like a year or two ago in game time, have a war against China. They had South Hokkaido, and also I think it was this one, Easter Island. So they actually had two islands, not just one. But it was over pretty quickly. There was one battle with the light cruiser. I didn't bother recording it. So China is out of the campaign. Now, Germany and United States. Germany has most of their navy here, and this task force, this one, with 7 out of their 9 battleships, and 2 of their 7 battle cruisers. I wonder if these battleships are huge, because that's, in terms of number of ships, this is not a big task force, but it's almost 200,000 tons. So that could be a, like, 100,000 ton battleship? Maybe. Their heavy cruisers are almost 20,000. So, maybe. Now, it's 1954, so we've gotten some more research done. We got all the big guns. We got most of the ships refit with Mark V guns, including the 20-inch guns. Sultan Osman, I made a copy of the refit design. Only change, other than, Mark V and stuff, guns, being that I sacrificed some belt armor for some increased deck armor on the Citadel. I need 2 more names for these 2 battleships. And these 4 cruisers also need names. So they're being built. They should be ready before the war is over, so they'll get to participate. It's also a pretty big task force. Now, they're not going to get into the Mediterranean. They just sailed through it before the war broke out. So, would actually have been interesting if they had been trapped inside of here. What do we have here? Port Said, 2 Janissaries. That's not going to cut it for that kind of enemy force. About 4 battle cruisers and some destroyers. Could that be enough? Where are we going to run into them, though? Like here? Try to cut them off here. The fleet in Singapore. Let's send them out to... What do we want to invade? Tsingtao, maybe? Do that one first. Of course, the United States. They have a really big navy. How many ships exactly? And they're building another 34. Now, they were left with a number of ships after the previous war that we fought. So I'm not sure if all of these are new, but potentially they have some quite modern stuff. See if we can get some engagements here. This is, of course, not a big task force, but it should be... if we can't outfight whatever we run into, we could at least outrun them. So what do I want to try taking? Peru? Yes. We're gonna try taking Peru. I want to clean up South America. Also, this would also be a nice thing to take. Belize. Maybe the army will take care of it. I don't know. So I retired some of the old dreadnoughts. Not the ones with 16-inch guns. They are still in service. But the ones with the 13s and 14s. They're museum ships now. Or reserve fleet, at least. So no heavy cruisers with this task force, but they'll just have to manage. What are we gonna try and fight, though? This force here. The biggest German task force is heading somewhere else, so that's fine. No, you cannot sail through the Mediterranean. You cannot sail through the Mediterranean. See if I can invade Eastern Germany. That would be sweet if we could make that happen. I have something in Hamburg. A couple battle cruisers with torpedo boats as support. We'll send them into the Baltic here too. Maybe try to take Finland. I have a lot of task forces I can send out. I like sending out my complete task forces so they can like operate together and not get thrown into randomly generated missions like piecemeal. Who knows what we're gonna run into if I send a task force here? It could be any one of these task forces. It could be a couple cruisers or like a full-on battleship task force. It's gonna be difficult to predict. Portland is a huge port. I think I might require a lot of tonnage if I want to take Maine. I can try. See how much tonnage is actually required. Just kick the hornet's nest a little bit. What else do we have that is ready to be sent somewhere? The two American battleships. There. The Tanzimat class battleships are here. It's also a task force I can send out and do something. Let's keep them in port for now and just see where I need to send more ships in the next month. Also, I've retired a bunch of the, actually all the old light cruisers, so now I should only have the Veve class battle cruisers. Light cruisers. Alliance with France. No, thank you. Not if you want to make me pay for it. Striking the port. Here we go. S-class battleship. 75,000 tons, almost. Okay, so it's not a huge, like, 100,000 ton monster. Right. Ooh. F-class heavy cruiser. 20,000 tons, 11.1-inch guns. Interesting. And a lot of destroyers. So with the addition of the 2 British battleships with the 18-inch guns, I should be able to outgun these Germans. Not to mention I have a bunch of decent battleships of my own with 16-inch guns. Alright. No, that's not what I wanted to do. You're gonna join that division. And you're gonna just, I'll just add you to the other division once they pass you. You can just slow down first. I hope the developers of the Tweaks and Fixes mod, that's part of DIP, we talked about adding some like deployment phase pre-battle thing where you can organize your fleet. How they deploy and what kind of divisions are made up. That would be so nice. So, let's take a look at these German ships, see what they're made of. The Germans have run out of ship names too, I see. Mark 5 16-inch guns. Decent range. And decent deck pen at max range. And decent armor as well. Only 170% though. So my deck pen at 40,000 is 13.4 inches. But my max range is 45,000 meters. I can't actually see what my my deck pen is at that range, but it might be enough to score full deck penetrations on that German battleship. How far out are they? Pretty far. Yeah, 60 kilometers. So it's gonna take a while to move into firing range. I want to have my light cruiser approach them a little bit closer. Keep everything spotted. I think it's the ship with the best spotting range. It only has radar 2 actually. Not 3, but the base tower spotting on these light cruisers is pretty good. Okay, turn my gun line that way. Now Al-Andalus can just tag along with the rest of the division. I'm pretty sure they're gonna spot my torpedo boats when I get closer. But at least for now, they've lost sight of them in the smoke screen. What was... That was an 18-inch shell. Two of them, actually. Just evaporating a destroyer. So, they are in range now. Almost, of the 18-inch guns. Hindustan, Lord Warden, are going to focus on that battlecruiser, battleship. Excuse me. And everything else can just target something else. When they get closer. I accidentally issued a move order because I misclicked. But there, rectified. Not quite in torp range yet. Almost in torpedo range of my torpedo boats, which are now being spotted through the smoke screen. Now we're in torpedo range. Lead torpedo boat, you just took a hit so you can detach. And also aim your torpedoes at something else. Aggressive launch is on. A lot of torps aimed at one ship. But hopefully, like the rest of the enemy formation will be sort of clustered around that battleship. One more destroyer vaporized. Absolutely deleted. I got some torpedoes to play with here as well. Not gonna aim them all at the battleship, but some of them. We have a flash fire. Good. It's a good start. What caused that? Oh, one of the 18-inch guns. From the captured British battleships. Might be losing this torpedo boat, maybe. But the other three look like they're gonna be getting away. What's the sea state here anyway? My speed is being limited. The torpedoes are hitting stuff. Well, I should probably check enemy torpedo range. It's almost 20 kilometers. They're only 21 inch. One destroyer lost. One torpedo boat lost. Let's have them spread out a little bit. Light cruiser is now taking too much fire. I want it retreated. Uh, 23-inch torpedoes, but only 12.7 kilometer range. Electrics. Well, they got multiple classes. How about their light cruisers? 800 million. I'm not too impressed if this is what they're getting for 800 million. Now, despite the flash fire, that enemy battleship is still going strong-ish. They lost the bridge, the tower, but they're now way too close for deck penetrations. We got no heavy cruisers protecting these battleships from approaching enemy destroyers. The ones I'm building specifically for this task force, they're not finished yet. They're going to be ready in a couple months. Take a look at this heavy cruiser. 700 million. This is a fairly well protected heavy cruiser, despite only having Citadel 4. I would take some of these as war operations. They had one other type 2 though, didn't they? Yeah, these ones. 10-inch guns. Is this another type? The quad guns. Right. In vanilla, by the way, this hull is totally overpowered because you can make it invulnerable to enemy guns with the high base resistance. Germany has a lot of hulls like that in vanilla. Hindustan is taking some hits, but you know, it's not too serious. Definitely still combat effective. But the same can be said for the BB-680. Which is still firing. Best bet now is probably hitting those main gun turrets. Knocking them out. I've knocked out one. Damaged another. I think I knocked out the B turret now too. Yeah, they only have 14 rounds left, so they lost another turret. What is your price tag? 2.5 billion. That's not too bad. It's not like surprisingly cheap bargain bin level price point for a battleship, but it's not crazily expensive either. And there we go. Enemy battleship is out of main gun ammo. It had super heavy shells and cordite 3, that's why the first turret flash fired. Not sure if the B turret also flash fired or if it was just knocked out. September 1949 refit. So they do sometimes refit their ships. That's why it's only has a top speed of 26 knots, because it was a refit. And it seems the AI does that whenever they do a refit. They just make the ship really slow. Often for no clear benefit. Is a pretty tough battleship. Al-Andalus has taken it's not serious damage, 80%. That's fine. That battleship is almost sunk. In fact, I'm gonna have Lord Warden and Hindustan focus these cruisers now instead. We can deal with the battleship later. It's not going anywhere, and it's not threatening me in any way. I don't think they got close enough to launch the torpedoes. If they had oxygen torpedoes, that might have been troublesome. One cruiser down. Everyone is focusing the remaining cruiser. Now switching back to the battleship. I guess it doesn't matter at this stage. There we go. Battleship surrendered. It was close to sinking, but it chose surrender. And now it's just these two light cruisers left, and they're not really doing anything. Also surprisingly survivable. Maybe they are getting something for those 800 millions. Oh, I was gonna switch to HE, but it went down. Right. 300,000 victory points. It's a good start. Lost one destroyer and one torpedo boat. That is not too bad. And that was the only meeting this month. Losing a bunch of transports. So that's alright. Need to bump this up again. I mean, lost 1% of transport capacity. That's actually not too bad. My army is preparing to invade Peru. Okay, we'll let them deal with that. And I can instead invade Chile, maybe. 198,000 tons. I actually don't have the tonnage to do that. Not here. I'd have to bring in some outside tonnage if I want to take Chile. Argentina might also require a bit too much tonnage because it's based on port capacity. And this task force here is only 110,000 tons. This fairly small force. So let's instead, this month, launch an invasion on Germany. Eastern Germany, 653,000 tons. I can do that later in the war, when I've gathered more task forces there. Let's just start small. Northern Finland. This force can do that fairly easily. Bombarding Oulu. So 3 convoy battles. One heavy and one light versus one heavy. One battlecruiser, one light versus two lights. Destroyer on destroyer. Oh, it's one of these. I forgot I still had them in service. That's the gunboat destroyer. But I think the American one is also a similar type. You know, one of the Corvette type ships. That's only really considered a destroyer because that's what the game classifies it as. Now that should be an even fight. They look about on par. Defending one transport, so it's not a high stakes battle. I should probably replace the K-25 class destroyers and the DD-40s as well with VV class light cruisers. Because these are not destroyers intended to be working in divisions within a task force like the DD-10s and DD-22s. They're more like patrol and escort destroyers. Meant to do exactly this. Engage in convoy battles. But I have enough money now that I can afford using bigger ships for that purpose. There we go. Enemy spotted. Let's see what we're up against. Harry Hubbard. $10 torps. Right. They scored the first hit. Switch to AP maybe? There we go. Incoming torps. Should be able to dodge them pretty easy. There we go. Bigger hits are landing. Close enough to score penetrations now with the AP. And Harry E. Hubbard is getting wrecked. Torpedoes all missed, but that's fine. They surrendered. Nice. At least I know these still work. And they're still capable of doing what they're designed to do. Might not have gone as well if this was a like actual full-size destroyer with 5-inch guns. I have a suspicion that this K-25 would have gotten wrecked in that kind of a an engagement. Now Kakadagi refit S-class and the Veve against the Dresden class heavy cruiser with 11-inch guns. That could be spicy. And my ships should be capable too. Fatih, you can just follow Kakadagi for now. There they are. I was wondering why there was no, like, green RDF line, but no, they're already spotted. Just not in the direction I thought they were. "50 kilometers out." We're just gonna close in a little bit. There. All's in range. They do outrange me by a little bit. Then again, they have 11-inch guns, so that's not too surprising. They only have 4 of them, though. Semi-ballistic AP. What kind of torps do you have? 12-inch. 12 kilometers, excuse me, 21-inch. Launch your electric torpedoes that are difficult to spot. I score 5 torpedo hits. And sink their cruiser. My ships will be safe from the enemy torpedoes. Fatih did a good job there. That was a risky maneuver, but it paid off. Just the transports left. No torpedoes on them. There we go. Right, and then the last one, which should be easier. I decided to do the last one last because I thought it would be easier, and then if the first 2 failed, I could then do this one and remove whatever unrest I gained. But the first 2 went fine. Right. I have a battle cruiser. That shouldn't have too much of a problem dealing with light cruisers. But unless I get careless and run into a bunch of torpedoes, it should be fine. Just follow Girtep for now. "12-inch guns. This is kind of the last of its kind. The Izmir, which is based on this design, has 13.5-inch guns. think I built a few of these, but they got dragged into battle with enemy battle cruisers, like full-on battle cruisers. Which, this is technically a battle cruiser, but it's really more like a big heavy cruiser. Large light cruiser is actually the name of the hull. It's a pretty big convoy though. Let's see, double check what kind of torpedo range I have to worry about. 7.3. Same. Oh! And 23.7 kilometers from the transports. It's a good thing I have this light cruiser with me. Following the battle cruisers, I have something that can spot torpedoes at range. And we do have enemy incoming torpedoes, so... Also have friendly outgoing torpedoes. Even with the sonar from that light cruiser, I almost ran into these torpedoes here. Yeah, this battle might be a bit more of a challenge than initially thought, mainly because of all those torpedoes on the transports. Girtep just lost a bunch of its bow structure. Let's have the light cruiser clear away some of these, and an engine. Transports. And then have Girtep close in and deal with the enemy light cruisers. Hitting the wreckage there. Enemy torpedoes just hit a wreck. That means there are incoming torpedoes heading towards Girtep. Meanwhile, my light cruiser is slaughtering enemy transports unimpeded. Gutep is taking all the heat. Lucky that torpedo detonated there, creating a nice light cruiser sized gap for me. Like, really need to pay attention to this. It's like a bullet hell kind of gameplay. I should have gone straight there and not tried to dodge. That was bad. Now my rudder is damaged. Haha, they're gonna torp their own light cruiser. One enemy light cruiser down. That was more down to their own torpedoes than anything else. How can I actually outrun this torpedo? Yes. What's up with your guns there, Gutep? Your A and B turrets are locked in the wrong direction. There we go, they're firing. So, just 3 transports left. This turned out more challenging than first expected. Let's see, secondaries on one, main guns on the other. And we're just gonna finish off the last one, which has torpedoes on reload, so it shouldn't be launching anything anytime soon. There we go. Yeah, I thought this would be the easy one. But the transports were maybe a bigger threat than the light cruisers. Yeah, biggest damage number on the enemy side was literally one of the transports. doing 60,000 with one torpedo hit. But none of my ships received 60,000. They did do 60,000 to one of the enemy light cruisers? No. Did it do 60,000 to a another transport maybe? That could be it. Anyway. So while the Girtep might need a few months of repair, let's see. 3 months. That's not too bad. Yeah, the battle was still a victory, so. Anyway, that's it for today. Probably gonna get something happening over here soon. Or maybe happening closer to my own shores, because the Americans are sending a bunch of stuff over to the North Sea. Yeah, they're gonna do, the AI seems so hard-coded to want to send ships here to recreate the Battle of Jutland. So, I guess that might be happening soon. Germany is finally launching a counter-invasion against French-held southern Germany with an actual sizable military force. France has been trying to, for a while now, because France and Germany has been at war for a while, invade eastern Germany from southern Germany, but their attacking force has always been smaller than the Germans. But up until now, the Germans have never figured out that, oh, if they have the superior army force, they could just push down here and take it. So that might be, might give the Germans a big economic boost, because this is a very valuable territory. That would hurt France as well, losing this. Anyway, that's it for now. Goodbye, and take care.